Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Insurtech Building Blocs Podcast. My name is Cory Schmidt, and I'm going to be your host today. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We've actually got a little bit of a special episode today. While we typically will try to talk about industry trends and what we see going on in the space, I'm excited that we're joined today by our new CEO, Mike Lamb, who joined the business just about 2 months ago, about 60 days ago.
That's right.
Welcome to the podcast,
That's right.
Mike.
Thank you, Cory. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining. I know, anytime there's new leadership in a company, customers are always interested in like what's going on and what to expect from new folks. But maybe before we jump to the business stuff, which isn't nearly as exciting, I heard you have a big tennis tournament coming up this weekend.
Yeah, that's right, Cory. My senior USTA 9-0 team somehow miraculously won our Texas sectional this spring, and we're going to nationals this weekend in Scottsdale, Arizona. So definitely gearing up for that, and looking forward to a fun weekend of playing some tennis.
Amazing. It sounds like everybody's healthy, is from what I heard last. Is that still the case? I know that's day to day, right?
Knock on wood, at our advanced senior age, staying healthy is not a given, but, we've definitely hired the best trainers and been following all the protocols to keep us on the court for the, at least for the next weekend. So,
okay.
So far, so good, knock on wood.
All right. And this is a doubles tournament, right? This is doubles play?
It is doubles.
Okay.
So no
Awesome.
singles involved.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck to you. Maybe we'll have a future podcast where we'll find out about the results and make sure everybody avoided injury. So,
yeah, we'll report out. We'll compete. I can't say we'll expect to win, but I will say we'll expect to have fun. So
okay,
we'll see.
All right. I think that's a good goal. Yes. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll get down to it. Again, thanks for joining the podcast, Mike. We've had a chance to work together at least for the last 60-ish days, but frankly, before that, you were already grinding away and learning about the business. Really excited that you're here. I think maybe for the folks that are tuning in, if you don't mind just giving a little bit about your background and maybe what brought you into obviously a little bit of healthcare experience and then ultimately to AgencyBloc.
Oh, sure. Happy to, kind of give you the Reader's Digest version. I've been around the SaaS and software space for, over 30 years now. So, it has been certainly a long and winding road. I spent over 20 years at ADP in the payroll benefits, workforce management space, and had a great run there. Really learned a ton about working with mid-market companies and expanding out into especially some of the broker and benefit opportunities as ADP moved beyond payroll over the years. And then after that, I ran a employer wellness platform out of Dallas, Texas, called Vivere. And we sold a platform in series of clinical services that were geared toward large self-funded employers and basically provided preventive care, incentive management and engagement for their employees to manage their health and hopefully take care of conditions before they became problematic and hit claims trend. We also in that business worked with a lot of group employer or group broker benefits partners as well. So that kind of carried the theme. And then my last opportunity prior to coming to AgencyBloc was called Clearwave, and Clearwave is a patient engagement platform that digitizes all of the front end things that patients have to do to get ready for a doctor appointment. Everything from scheduling through medical history, through all the enrollment forms, eligibility, payments, and so forth. And so that platform was used by over 600 providers, across the country, and served over 20 million patients.
Wow. Yeah. Major scale.
Yeah. Big scale, great business and company. And certainly have moved through healthcare, again, starting on the benefit side, moving a little bit more clinical on the wellness side. And then, the last 6 years on the provider side. So have gotten a pretty well, rounded look at how technology, directly and, indirectly, impacts healthcare and certainly employers and, ultimately consumers.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have somebody that's, spent some time in the industry. And obviously our stakeholders are similar to that, right? You've worked with brokers in the
Mhm.
past, employee benefits brokers and individual insurance agents. And obviously we work with carriers here as well in various capacities. I'm kind of curious, what was the impetus for why Agency Bloc and why now?
Yeah, I can't tell you how excited I've been to, join the company and work with you and the team over the past couple of months. And as I, looked at the opportunity to come aboard, I did feel like, again, the ecosystem that Agency Bloc plays in is very similar and close to, my experience set in the past. And certainly we'll be learning some new things around the individual and the Medicare and ACA space, but certainly the
Hmm.
benefits ecosystem and, interplay with Medicare and things like that are something that I've been around for a long time. So that felt really comfortable. But, really what drew me in, most of all was the opportunity to help the company grow. I mean, Agency Bloc has carved out an incredible niche as the defining agency management platform, and certainly has expanded its product reach over the past few years, and has just a tremendous upside and marketability to continue to serve our core customers and serve new ones in adjacent areas, serving to serve larger customers as well. And the ability, the opportunity to just jump into something that's vibrant, growing, and has such a an outsized opportunity in the market to continue to define itself as a leader was just something that I had to feel compelled to do.
I love it. Yeah. And I got to, I had the opportunity to watch you do an elevator pitch, actually, Mike. I think it was on about day 40, with a potential partner. And it was, man, you've learned a lot in a very short amount of time. It's obvious you came in with some background on the industry and also like you've just really, dug in with trying to understand our customers, like first and foremost, which I
Mhm.
just think is awesome. In fact, I think you've already maybe you spent some time with our customers, both on Zoom calls like this, as well as even in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, I mean it's super important, and certainly I wanted to have a couple of days of learning about what we do and the people. But once you kind of get through that first month or two onboarding, it really is all about trying to be in the field as much as possible, and learning from various size customers. I've been to conventions as well, just talking to different size agencies, from single agents to companies that have 29 or 30,000 agents in their downlines, and you get a different blend of perspective of how the platform provides value today, and certainly more importantly where it needs to go in the future and how it needs to continue to evolve to serve these bases. And there's no better source of where you need to go than talking to customers that live and breathe your software every day. And that's, one of the cool things about Agency Bloc is, the immersiveness of how our customers really rely on our product. I mean, they are in it,
Yep.
from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. And that's an exciting place to be.
I was just on an interview earlier today where I said that's probably the thing I still love the most about this business is you know that the products you're providing are at the heartbeat of how agencies operate, right? And it's like we take
Hmm.
that with the utmost amount of responsibility and care to make sure that that everything is put together in a way that makes them efficient, that gives them clear line of sight into their business, and I think, frankly, that's the most rewarding thing about being in business software is really, being entrenched in the workflows of our customers. It also on days like there was a week or two ago when like AWS has some significant challenges, you remember how acute it is when your product is not operating the way
Yeah.
customers need it to, right? And I think it's it's sort of like it's not a good thing, but it's validation that like we need to care about that really at the highest level.
Yeah, without a doubt, that certainly was a tough day for many thousands and hundreds of thousands of businesses, and Yeah, it is a reminder of how, connected our technology is, and how, folks, utterly rely on it to run their business. And, we can never forget that, in terms of, what we do and how we develop, how we, provide service, and move the offering forward.
Yeah, certainly. Well, you've spent a lot of time learning about the business, the products. You've started to spend time with customers, and you touched on this a little bit, Mike. But we've really, I think, recalibrated as a leadership team around having having client voice as our compass, really being a customer driven organization. As a co-founder in the business, like, we used to just spend a lot of time just sitting in agencies' offices and watching them work. And I think, as the business grows, sometimes you get away from that and you forget about the
Mm-hmm.
importance of that. But I know that's like top of mind for you. How do you see that playing out with your leadership at AgencyBloc?
Yeah, I've always led, from a customer centric point of view, and actually, I started my career in sales, and very similar to, our end customer. Our core customers are in the business of selling and taking care of their customers as well. So I have walked a mile in those shoes, on both fronts, and so, for better or for worse, that's kind of how I, look at a business. It's really from that lens. Like, do we have a saleable product, and can we deliver it on a consistent basis, day in, day out, so that, the customer will drive value and stay with us for a long time. And so, to your point, as businesses grow, sometimes it's, not as easy to stay connected to those roots, when you start to have hundreds and then thousands and thousands of customers. But you still have to find a way to do that. And I'm really excited in that we are doing that. In fact, our new head of product, Scott Sanchez, has just wrapped up a series of what he's calling voice of customer reports that we're looking at internally. And he and his team have spent literally hours talking to dozens and dozens and dozens of all size AgencyBloc customers, to lean in and listen to, what they like and what they need, where they need us to improve. And we're consuming that information and really coming, up with a clear picture of, again, preserving the goodness of our platforms, but also there are clear opportunities where we need to get better, where we need to make the software more usable, more intuitive, just, more friendly in general as we've grown functionality. And that kind of effort, can consistently, going back to customers, listening, taking feedback, watching, sitting down with them, literally shadowing users. We're getting ready to go do that with a big customer here in Texas, in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to personally do that. That's the best way to learn, is sit down with someone using your product and see how many sticky notes they may have on, the monitor. And those, the things that really happen on how they get things done. And so we always learn, a bunch of things around how you can make that better and make the software and the solution more intuitive in that process.
Yeah, I fondly remember spending time on one of our customers in the Indianapolis area several years ago. And actually, to your comment about sticky notes, we were in Emily's office and we saw these sticky notes on the side. And she's like, "Here's where I keep track of all my deposits that have come in from my commission statements." And we're like, why don't we just give you a place to actually manage that? Because you're already reconciling your commission in our platform. Like, we should give you a place to like track that. And she's like, "That would be amazing." And you don't realize some of those things because the customer may not think about asking about the things that the system doesn't do. They might convey like, "I want this thing to work differently." But sometimes you have to be in their seat, like, or next to them, like watching them use the product, which I think is the best way to learn. So I love that you're indexed on that you understand the value of that. Like, I mean, we're only here because of our customers, right? And we're only as good tomorrow as the willingness of our customers to continue to be good partners with us as a business. And I just love how you're really focused on that. As a theme, obviously, customer driven is one that I've clearly picked up from you, and we've agreed as a leadership team is a theme for us for 26 and beyond. Are there any other themes that have kind of risen for you, Mike, as you've kind of onboarded to the business and gotten a chance to learn more about what we do here?
No, for sure. And that is, the basis of everything, is, as you just stated. I think another prevailing theme that I'm spending a lot of time thinking about as we, update our strategy for 26 and, the next several years is that, we've grown as a business. We've grown as a platform. Remarkably, we've grown into new markets and customer bases. And with all of that, comes a, requisite level of added functionality. We've made a couple of acquisitions that, were really additive to the business. But it also, at the same time, the more you add to a product, you run into the risk of making it more, complicated.
Mhm.
And, that's always that trade-off of, adding more features and making it more evolving, runs the risk of, adding complexity. And it's striking that balance in where we go with our platform set that I'm really thinking about. And to that end, I'm thinking very, very hard about how do we optimize and harmonize all of the work that has been done, over the past few years, both, in internal development, and platforms that we've acquired, and in effect simplify the ecosystem, for the next several years. And that's easier said than done because it's hard to be complicated in terms of breadth and then simple. But it really does start with, examining that, talking to clients about what's working, where they need it better, and, perhaps eliminating or, reducing, some of those friction points that have been more complicated, and just making the product more intuitive, over and over again. So very, very focused on that. I think that's a big opportunity for us, particularly in 26.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like the use of the word harmonize in that,
Mhm.
it's all about making sure these things work well and work in conjunction with each other to actually drive value for customers and not be an impediment or an obstacle for them to be able to get their work done. So yeah, I love that theme. Maybe switching gears a little bit to leadership. Obviously, lots of experience, Mike, leading teams and leading through change. One of the things I've observed from you is, really wanting to drive utmost clarity around the priorities in the organization. How important is it to you that the leadership team is really working from a clear mandate? And is that something that you've developed over time? And do you have an operating model that you like to bring to the table? Like what has shaped your
Mhm.
perspective as a leader in terms of
Mhm.
leading teams?
Well, to that point, I've had a lot of experiences and learned, from a lot of great companies and great people. So I doubt there's a lot of originality in my method. But I also believe being a good leader is borrowing and using things that work and then applying them in the right context into other situations. And I think in my case, with all those years at ADP, it's a very well managed company and very largely successful. And you learn a lot about management discipline and planning and structure and efficiency and things like that, that I've really taken with me. And in my last couple of more smaller companies that are more the size of an AgencyBloc, fast growth, companies of our size, I've taken a lot of what works there, but also have learned, through systems like OKRs, which is really something Google pioneered, over 20 years ago. So it's really not new, but it's certainly a way to take a fast growth company that's moving in a lot of directions, has a lot of priorities, and can sometimes struggle with focus because that's just the way
Mhm.
and the pace that it's been, and to really set objectives in a clear way and then define them with key results, which is what the OKR model is. I'm sure a lot of people know what that is. But I find that when you spend time on that with your team and get it right over time, it's amazing how when you look back quarter by quarter, by year, how often that you hit or very nearly hit the things that you write down and set out to do, in this format. And it's amazing how a written down plan, I know that's as old as time, but using again, some more software-ish techniques, produce some really great results and get the team aligned and really visible into what we're trying to achieve as a company, which is not easy to do given the pace that we live in.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's brought clarity in the short amount of time that you've been here. I think it's great. If I could plug a book, I think you gave us a reading assignment early on in your time here, Measure What Matters, which I can't remember the author.
John Doerr.
Yeah, John Doerr,
Yeah.
which again, for folks listening, like honestly, we talk to customers and like, how do you manage your business and what are the things that you leverage? And I think it's been a good framework for us as a leadership team. And even, you rolled it out to the broader organization, in our all hands this week around, what are the big things that we're going after? And then what are the OKRs that connect into that, which I think just brings like, clarity to the teams around the work that they're doing and how that feeds into the organizational objectives.
Right. Yeah. Clarity and focus is everything. And again, the things I learned at ADP, even before OKRs were invented, revolved around the same things, having clear accountability, clear line of sight to goals, strong success metrics and, reward system and a recognition system. And that just drives that service profit chain that, keeps us healthy and growing for our customers.
I like it. Yeah. And the recognition, the servant leadership, that fits well with our culture. I think if anybody knows our company well, it's, we've built this business on a really strong culture and we believe strongly in recognizing people for outstanding performance. And you've definitely encouraged us to continue to do that as well, which I love. Pivoting a little bit, obviously, going into 2026 or even, during AEP, OEP 2025, there's a lot of market disruption going on in the industry. We've got, Medicare Advantage. We got carriers that are pulling the rug, not pulling the rug out, but, making some pretty sizable changes to their commission structures, like in the middle
pharma,
of the period. Yeah, you've
pharma
got
benefits under pressure. I mean, this shutdown is on top of the trends that were already happening, is only just, obviously exacerbated it. I mean, every day there's a new headline about directionally where this is going. So this is a pretty interesting and stressful time for, the space that we serve.
Yeah. And then, we got the ACA subsidies that are, kind of part of the bigger picture of why the shutdown's happening, or at least the bargaining chip, I think, that's being played between the two parties in Washington. You got small group benefits at all-time kind of highs in terms of trends and renewals that are coming through. When you think about AgencyBloc and those market dynamics, like how do you feel like that might impact our approach, or maybe how would that shape our approach of serving our customers? Any thoughts on that?
Certainly, and we'll see how things shake out with ACA as one issue in the shutdown. Certainly Medicare reimbursements have been perpetually under pressure. I learned that deeply at my last company serving the provider space, and as I think about it at AgencyBloc, we continue to be a system of record and hopefully a broker operating system. And as markets change, as trends change, plan designs change, our customer base is going to have to adapt, to continue to serve their business or grow their business or move it, in appropriate areas. And so I think for us, that's a mandate to make sure that, we're on top of these trends, but also enabling, our brokers and agency customers to pivot. For example, they may need to pivot to new lines of business. They may need to be, opening, completely, again, new markets that they have to, catapult into to grow and maintain, what they're trying to do. And we have to be a broad enough system to be able to manage that and have that flexibility or functionality as those causes, may occur.
Yeah. Yeah. What I'm really proud of is, the AgencyBloc platform you mentioned, it's got a lot of breadth and depth, right? And I think one of the things that we've always tried to focus on is supporting all lines of business within health and benefits, whether it's individual or it's group or it's, core medical or it's ancillary benefits. And I think that's a really important comment that you're making, that, you want to make sure that, that you're using a solution that gives you the ability to pivot your
Good.
business without having to change like the operating system, as you called it.
Mhm.
And so I
Mhm.
was actually on a call earlier today with a couple of folks on our Engage Plus team, and we were talking about some of the content library, some of the content marketing that they've been building
Mhm.
up. And they were
Yeah.
actually talking about the amount of demand for some of the ancillary benefits like the vision, dental, long-term care, and how that's become really important for our customers to have access to in order to do that revenue diversification that I think you're referring to, Mike, in terms of like how are they going to cross-sell and market themselves in these other lines of business as a hedge or as at least a way to protect against maybe, other parts of the market that aren't going as well.
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating. And speaking of that too, I think we've got a really, tremendous opportunity in the group space. We already serve, a number of customers there, and I think there's a lot more we could do. And, particularly as trends like, level funded plans are really taking off. In fact, we're looking at that ourselves, as our own company.
Hmm.
So we're diving into our own pool, in terms of, where those trends are going. Following trends like ICRO, where is that going? There will no doubt, be, continued dynamics. I think we can all agree about that. And it really
Right.
is up to us to keep our platform at appropriate width, to enable, our customers to pivot as they need to, depending on, where legislation or, prevailing healthcare trends go.
Hmm. Yeah, and honestly, it comes back full circle to having the client voice as kind of our compass, because I think if we understand, the challenges that our customers are facing and the potential areas they may want to pivot into, it becomes, more clear for us as an organization how to support those pivots as well. Um, let's talk a little bit about maybe vision for AgencyBloc. We're going into 2026. You're joining the company like almost on the doorstep of Q4. Like many
Right.
companies, we're trying to go through like annual planning, but we're also trying to make sure we're executing on the things right now. And obviously a new leader in the business, Mike. Like, how are you thinking about 2026 in terms of getting ready and making sure the
Yeah.
team has what we need?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm super excited about it. Every day as I learn more, I just, you know, pick up even more energy around where our opportunities are to grow and frankly improve and get better, for our customers. And, I think the prevailing, themes for 26 are, as we mentioned before, we've had a lot of product development and new feature rollout over the past couple of years, and we know we need to refine some of those features. In fact, we've got an updated mobile and VoIP app coming out this week. We're delivering some workflow improvements in our AMS platform this quarter. We're doing a UI and UX assessment around, look and feel and, button placing and all things around how people use our software. So a large part of our theme is, maybe less about, rolling out the next new shiny object in 26, but more, optimizing all the things we've been rolling out over the past 24 months and making them really great. Not
Hmm.
to say we're not going to continue to innovate, because again, there's things that we're looking at, growing our group space and looking at enrollment. And I mentioned ICRA is a hot topic, and there's lots of things that we're looking to expand. We're looking at expanding our market, footprint into, more work with wholesale, FMOs and IMOs as well, that we also have a lot of customers with. So there's plenty of new stuff to do. But I'm primarily focused, through the early part of 26 around, really rounding out the current product set, taking this voice of customer information around, what they really want to see from the platform, and applying that focus that we've talked about, with our product and our development teams, to, continue to output that.
Yeah, I love it. I think a lot of, like you said, innovation's important, but it needs to be grounded in client needs and not just innovation for the sake of innovation. And I think the work that you referenced, you touched on some of it around, usability testing and making sure that we built the right things. Like we actually have a lot of things that, our teams have built over the last few months that we're excited to get into customers' hands. We also know we can't necessarily do that during AEP and OEP, but
Right.
I think, this gives us actually a good moment in time to make sure that we built these in the right way, that customers can use them, that they can adopt them and be successful. And excited to kind of see what Q1 will look like for us, because I think we'll be able to bring a lot of that goodness into the hands of customers in Q1, and obviously some maybe go into Q2. But the other thing I've learned is like, don't release a bunch of things right before AEP. I think if I've learned anything in my time here, it's that is not a winning solution.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that, and we've all learned in the past around cycles of development and various platforms of releases that have gone well, and frankly, some that may not have gone as well as planned, and I think that's also something we've taken heart to, from lessons learned this year around building a crescendo of value added enhancements in releases and functionality that make sense to where our customers are in their annual cycle, ultimately leading up to AEP, and ensuring their readiness. And we're really going to be intentional about calibrating the roadmap to align to that timing next year and beyond.
Yeah. Awesome. Good. Well, anything else, Mike, that you would like to share with, customers who are tuning in, or other folks that are catching the podcast and that you think they might be interested in?
Oh, sure. Well, this has just been a great opportunity. It's I'm just, again, excited and thrilled to be here. And I think the other impression I want to end with or leave with is it's just really amazing with customers that I have met, and I will meet many, many more. But the just the loyalty and kind of the spirit behind AgencyBloc. Even with customers that are suggesting feedback, but it's coming from a super constructive place. They want to win. They want AgencyBloc to win with them. And it's just palpable, when you meet these folks, that they love the software. They need to tell us where we need to make it better. And that's what, just fires me up to, take the helm here and lead us into 26 and beyond. So I can't wait to see what we're going to do. I think it's going to be exciting, and we're going to keep, evolving and making things great.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me, Mike. Really appreciate you bearing with my questions. Glad you're here. Glad we're working on what I think are the things that really drive the business forward, and continue to make those customers be great partners in this business. It's really it's a fun time to be at AgencyBloc. And again, appreciate you joining the podcast. I hope everything goes well with the upcoming tennis tournament. We'll be tracking it. Maybe can we live stream it? Watch the matches online?
Well, I don't know about live streaming, but I'll link you to the live scoring widget, so you can track our match progress as we go.
Great. Look forward to it. So. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Mike. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll catch you next time. Thanks so much.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Cory. Bye-bye.